We've spent a few months of the Torchwood Big Finish monthly range following Ianto Jones's adventures throughout Cardiff, so now it's time for something completely different. For the Torchwood monthly range, the latest release is The Restoration of Catherine by James Goss. This follows characters from the Soho branch in the 1950s, I think. That's a corner of Torchwood that I have never dived into at all. So this is my first exposure to Torchwood agent Norton Folgate, who you can see here on the cover, voiced by Samuel Barnett, and also PC Andy, who was in the present day in Cardiff, and I assume has been sent to the 1950s and now works with Torchwood there. I don't know. Torchwood and Big Finish in general is just a massive rabbit hole. So the Restoration of Catherine opens with Tom and Samuel basically just waking up in the 17th century. And they end up getting embroiled in some strange marital drama. So they're investigating a time anomaly. They're driving a car in the 1950s one day, and then because the next moment they find themselves riding a horse and carriage. They get caught up in a storm, and they find themselves in this wonderful mansion home to escape from the storm, where Catherine de Winter, played by Ebony Janelle, is due to make a contractually obligated decision about whom she is going to marry before midnight. You've got Sir Reginald Hardgoing, voiced by Shay Matheson, and you've also got Squire Edmund Dashington, voiced by George Naylor. However, the weird time disturbance seems to be isolated to this mansion where time has completely frozen, and Andy and Norton's prevailing theory is that because of their interference, they've stopped Catherine de Winter from selecting who she's meant to marry, and something has gone wrong with time, and time is now frozen. So, as Norton so eloquently puts it over the course of the story, Andy and Norton need to get Catherine laid. Let's play a clip from The Restoration of Catherine.
Who are these two? Can't have them drenched. Come in, come in.
I really must protest.
Of course you must. Sir Reggie Hardgoing believes the rain is good for the soul.
Well, it is.
The only soaking my soul gets is a little ale.
That's quite enough, Mr. Dashington.
Squire Edmund Dashington, at your services.
Ah, period drama. They film a lot of period dramas in Bath. Judi Dench could be just round the corner, couldn't she? Am I clutching at straws?
Yes. This is Winter Grange.
You have an invitation?
Outrageous.
Not under the terms of the will.
A solicitor should be here. We are the only two declared suitors for the hand of Miss Catherine.
Well, obviously, Reggie, but the letter of the law says that all suitors must present themselves at Winter Grange by midnight, Midsummer's Eve.
A year of our Lord...
1660.
Oh, crikey.
So, whether you came to get out of the rain or into Fair Kitty's bedchamber, the fact is that you boys are now in with a chance.
A chance at...
Why, marrying Miss Catherine de Winter.
Lovely.
And getting her house into the bargain. Us has to decide by midnight. I'm making a special effort. Just 3 cups of wine. Glad I did. Thought I was only up against Hardgoing there.
Much obliged, sir.
But you know women. They are apt to make strange decisions.
Evil Dalek, you're absolutely right. He does sound like Richard Mace from The Visitation. Yeah, George Naylor is really channeling Richard Mace from that story. But yeah, so The Restoration of Catherine is essentially a really light, offbeat comedy about these two hapless, mismatched agents from the future who get caught up in a timey-wimey shenanigan, and they essentially have to act as ill-suited suitors for Catherine de Winter, who is way more intelligent and way more like knowing of the situation that she's in than you'd expect of the genre. And the obviously like the comedic heavy lifting is being done by the men of the story, but Ebony Janelle as Catherine is a really strong presence throughout, and I think she really does a great job carrying the third act in particular, and her interactions with Andy are really fun and charming. I think like she's like the quiet MVP of the story, but you do have these really fun like Torchwood Torchwood-esque interactions as well. And by Torchwood-esque interactions, I mean it's very, very gay. And I think that the subplot of Norton and Andy trying to essentially match up Catherine with either Reginald or Edmund, but Reginald and Edmund are just the worst type of people who you'd want to be married to, and Catherine knows it as well, and Andy and Norton know it as well, but they've got to try and make time work again. And just how these efforts backfire, and how Norton unintentionally kind of makes the situation significantly worse for a really fun ending. So yeah, it's an offbeat period comedy, and I think if you're wanting anything more from that, you might leave a little bit disappointed. Honestly, I don't want to try and sell the restoration of Catherine short. It's a fun story with a great timey-wimey mystery at its heart, but it is mainly just a fun, quirky comedy. It's timey-wimey matchmaking. I think the cast is strong. James Goss's dialogue is really engaging throughout. It's fine. It's a strong release. Maybe I'd get a little bit more out of it if I knew anything about the Torchwood Soho branch. Like I said, this is my introduction to Norton Folgate, and it's a really fun and eclectic introduction to the character. Like I said, his interactions with the other men and where that goes over the course of the story is really fun and interesting. But yeah, it's a fun, quirky comedy. And there has been a little bit of discourse about this story, because over the course of the hour-long story, Andy does have a signal on his mobile phone, which he does use to contact the future to figure out what the state the future is in, because they're in a time bubble and that is having ripple effects through the rest of creation. And every so often, minor spoilers, so, you've had the review of Restoration of Catherine, although albeit pretty brief, but over the course of the story, he rings up the future, and we hear a distinctly American accent on the other end of the staticky, audio compressed phone line. And this has led many fans to believe that the role of Captain Jack Harkness, originally played by John Barrowman, has been recast. Maybe not in a official, box set main role capacity, but in this story, we do appear to have a Captain Jack Harkness not voiced by John Barrowman. It's never confirmed in the credits or on the cast list or anything on the website who is playing this version of Captain Jack. I personally have a theory, but I don't want to put a unintentional target on anyone's head for a theory. The idea of recasting the role of Captain Jack Harkness under these circumstances might be controversial to some, so I don't want to put a target on anyone's back, even if it is just a theory. But yes, I think I know who they've got to voice the actor, but if they have done that, I can confirm that there is a Captain Jack voice in this story, although you could count the amount of lines they've got on one hand. So, we don't know where they're going for the future of the character. For the Big Finish website, they do have a banner of where is it? You can see on the banner, the main banner for Big Finish, the two characters who you first see here on the left are Ianto and Captain Jack. So whether they're trying to softly reintroduce Captain Jack into the Torchwood audio adventures, of course, remains to be seen. It's entirely possible, but it seems that they have, they are sowing some seeds for a potential recast. We don't know what's going to happen in the long run, and it seems that the discussion of that maybe has outweighed the actual merits of the restoration of Catherine as a story in and of itself, but that's just the nature of this type of conversation. Also, like I said, the Big Finish website is broken. RRP $8.99, but you can get it for $8.99. Hopefully Big Finish fixes the website soon, sooner rather than later. But Restoration of Catherine is a fun, timey-wimey, hapless dude bro comedy. This honestly kind of seems like a premise that you would have seen maybe Seth Rogen and James Franco do in the mid to early 2010s. I don't know, it just seems like a fun premise and a setup for a story, and it does commit to the aesthetics of it as well. I liked it quite a bit. I just don't think I'm really going to be thinking about it in a few weeks' time, though. It's fine. It's a decent monthly range edition, and if the premise or any of the humour seems like it's your cup of tea, then go for it. I don't think this is a must listen, though.